I was, at the time that I started making these contributions to these retirement accounts, I was in the 10% tax bracket. And so if I put, I started putting $2,000 away into an IRA, I couldn't qualify for the company 401k plan because I had to be at the company for 3 years before I was even eligible to start making contributions. But I started contributing to an IRA. I could put $2,000 away at a time. And in the 10% tax bracket, I had a tax savings of $200. Big whoop. Big deal. A few years later, as I got into the 401k and started making contributions, even in the 10% bracket, if I'm putting $6,000 away, at 10%, I'm saving $600 off of my taxes. It didn't really move the needle. It wasn't until a few years later, when I was in the 24% tax bracket, that saving money like this on a pre-tax basis became a very huge deal for me and other people who were going through the same kind of growth in their income. Oh, and by the way, a few years later, my fiance, now my wife, and I both decided that we were going to buy a condo in Rockville Center. It was actually a co-op, wasn't even a condo in Rockville Center. But guess where all the money for the down payment came from? Came from retirement accounts. And so we had taxable income and we had penalties that we had to pay. And it really, in hindsight, turned out to be a very stupid decision at the time. We were socking money away on a pre-tax basis in the 10%, 12% tax bracket. It just didn't make sense. A lot of times when we're talking to folks, we'll talk about things like this. Like, what kind of tax break are you going to get by putting money into a retirement account? You might be better served by considering putting this money or some of this money into a taxable investment account for you. At least then you're not going to have any penalties if you decide to turn around and buy a home. We all know today that, if you're a first-time home buyer, it costs an arm and a leg to put together a down payment for a house. If this money is tied up in a retirement account, it's not going to be that easy to access. So just things to consider as you're going through this. Now, fast forward to today. We're meeting folks who have the lion's share, nearly all of their capital tied up in retirement accounts. They're in IRAs, they're in SEP accounts, they're in 401ks, and they've got very little cash to invest or to do something with. So they're really in a tough spot because now when they want to spend some of this money, it has to go through the tax filter. It's got to come out of the retirement account. So it's going to come out as ordinary income, not capital gain. This is really important to understand. Most of their future income is going to be taxed at ordinary income. Let me give you something to think about. A married couple filing a joint tax return in 2025, if their income, their taxable income, is less than $96,500, they pay this much, 0% in long-term capital gains taxes. Again, their taxable income has to be below $96,500. But what if your income is over that amount? Well, you could go, married couples filing jointly can go up to $600,000 in taxable income. They're going to be taxed at a long-term capital gains rate of 15%. That's honestly pretty good, and it is likely lower than the ordinary income tax you would pay if you were taking money out of a retirement account. Again, all the money that comes out of a retirement account, ordinary income. Okay, it's not until you have taxable income for people who are married filing jointly in 2025 of over $600,000, over 600 grand in taxable income before you get to that 20% long-term capital gains rate. So the answer to the question that Christine Benz posted in her Morningstar article, taxable account versus 401k, what's better? There is no cut and dried answer. The recommendation should be you need to work with a planner because every situation is going to be unique. And so you want to work with a planner who is going to figure out the optimal mix for you. That's going to be a mix of ordinary income, capital gains, things that are coming out. All the more reason you should be speaking with a planner to help you sort through the math.